All right, hi people. It's Angie and Sabine back again after we missed last week. Sabine had something else going on, and I had a week ban on YouTube for a video from January 2021, which was to me innocuous, but for some reason it got me a strike and it got me a week without being able to upload. So here we are, 2 weeks since our last talk. And we promised to address, and I really do want to address this, the Channel 4 storybook. The way, if people don't know this, there are independent production companies and they pitch a story to people like Channel 4, Channel 5, BBC, and so on. And if they can sell their story, then they go out and make the documentary or whatever it is. But something which I've come across again and again and again is that they are deceiving to the people they interview. It's entrapment, it's grooming. And I've seen this happen many times, particularly with Max Spears and briefly I was around the UFO community, although I was only talking about MK Ultra, but Channel 4 would say, oh, we want to make a documentary about this. This is amazing. And then they would absolutely do a hatchet job. So I think recently Richard D. Hall declined to cooperate whatsoever with, I think it might have been the BBC. And despite him saying, I do not wish to engage with you, I do not wish to be interviewed by you, no thank you, but no thank you, they still ambushed him at his place of work and lost him his work situation and caused him a lot of harm. Now, if independent journalists try to expose, for instance, a chief of police that's corrupt or whatever, and they are fairly, devoted to that, they can be imprisoned for stalking and harassment. And yet the BBC to turn up and ambush Richard D. Hall, even though he said, I do not wish to participate in any way whatsoever with your documentary, it's just considered journalism, So I've seen this pattern of hatchet jobs by the mainstream media and grooming and entrapment. So I'm going to hand it over to Sabine to basically tell us what Tom and Emily of the storybook, whatever, did to her in pursuit of a documentary which is alleged to be being released anytime now. Over to you, Sabine.
Well, it's very interesting that you have much more experience than I have, because the whole story was portrayed to me as if Channel 4 commissioned the company, not that they pitched it to them. And that's how it all started. And
that could be the way. That could be the way. Normally, production companies get an idea, they pitch it to one of the big channels, and they get commissioned. That's normally the way it goes down. But either way, they set out, in my opinion, on an entrapment and grooming process.
Yeah, a friend of mine called it a hit job.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hatchet job. Hatchet. It's a hatchet job. It's the same as Melanie Abbott did. Melanie Abbott, Radio 4, that's exactly what she did. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, and of course, she also said, oh, but misrepresent, we would never do. No.
Never, absolutely not. We're the BBC. Yeah. Anyway, so tell the people about this experience you had.
Well, this guy, Tom, called me or sent me an email, and we spoke oodles of times. And I mean, you call it grooming. Yes, that's what happened, because I was clearly far too vulnerable, far too traumatized.
Yeah.
I needed to talk to somebody. it was, you know, so if you like, desperate to talk, or far too bottled up.
Yeah.
Now I've had already a couple of therapy sessions. I've had a couple of conversations with you. A year is gone. I wear for the first time what used to be my prison sweatshirt.
You look amazing. For people that don't know, I shouldn't say this, but Sabine is 78 and she's waiting to go to her yoga class. She puts me to shame. You look fantastic, really.
Thank you. I mean, actually, I'm sure it's also the CDS that I'm taking, which I think would be better for you than your antibiotics.
So what CDS? Do you mean CB cannabis oil? Or
no, not the cannabis. It's the so I forgot the first syllable. It's dioxide. It's D is for dioxide, but I forgot the first one now.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Sort of, not. It's that line of thought, but it's been called the universal antidote. Okay. The universalantidote.com is a documentary that's been made about it, and Andreas Kalker is the biophysicist who has had 14 years of experience, and he healed his arthritis with it, which he had in his hands.
Yeah, I have osteoarthritis, and I rarely take antibiotics. I only gave into it after about a week of a raging ear infection, and it was just too much. I didn't know how to heal it, so I just took 5 days of amoxicillin, you know, but it's knocked me out. It's absolutely knocked me out, you know, because I don't take any drugs. I don't take any pharmaceuticals. No. I don't take cannabis oil or anything like that, even though many people have recommended that. But I just want to get on. I know we're digressing a little bit, but I was watching how to make natural magnesium oil. I'm going to order some magnesium flakes. And then I'm going to mix them with lavender from my garden and purified water, and just make some topical magnesium to apply externally. I really prefer the homeopathic route, but just maybe once a year, I have to just take the antibiotics. I don't know any alternative, you know.
Yeah, when it gets too tough, too bad. So yeah, we have to. I mean, long ago, I read a book about a woman who healed her cancer, and she was also an alternative healer, but she also had to do both in the end.
Yeah, you know, my homeopath, she's 80 now, maybe 81 now, and she's amazing. But she had the most horrific cancer experience. She had to have a surgery, like horrendous surgery. It was so ironic because she was treating people all her life, and yet she got attacked with the most, well, maybe it's no coincidence, but she got attacked with a cancer that nearly killed her, you know. So anyway, but back to Tom. So you got approached by somebody from an...
I got approached by Tom, and, you know, I was particularly lured into believing that the story was kosher, because do you remember that there was a film made by Channel 4 by Dispatches at the time? In the 90s. There was a Green MP involved, and they showed a local council up north with forced adoption leaflets.
Your laptop lid is moving around. Your camera is moving a bit. I don't know if you can make it more stable.
No, I was just, my legs were moving while I was talking with my hands.
So Dispatch, yeah, because I used to be a great fan, you know, of Dispatches and Panorama and Newsnight and all these programs. And somewhere they went horribly wrong, you know, somewhere they changed their MO. But tell me again, this Dispatches and a green...
Well, I don't think I recall the title of the film, but I found it on YouTube. It was a program. It was definitely called Dispatches, and it was definitely about children disappearing. And there was also a cook report.
Yes.
I can't swear to. Do you think that was Channel 4 too?
I don't know, but when Channel 4 first came out, everybody was so excited. It was like, oh, we have alternative media now. We have like somebody to represent the fringe and the other news, you know, and so on. But whatever way they started out, they've now become completely woke and completely bought and paid for, in my opinion.
Well, anyway, so it was that precursor, if you like, of that dispatches program that made me well, positively anticipatory, let's say. And then of course I just wasn't sufficiently suspicious, and I just, but at the same time, the thing that stopped me were friends who had helped me here and put themselves out and who advised me not to do it. And so, and at the same time, I wanted to kind of do it. And so we found a way in the end. We wanted to use the Mackenzie friend angle because Maurice was going to come, you know, the veteran super Mackenzie friend.
With Maurice Kirk.
Yeah, he wanted to come and visit me. And these bastards from Story Films TV used that angle and used their arrival time, his arrival time, to come a day early so that they could leave and do the filming before he arrives.
Wow. So before he could advise you.
Before he would have spotted them in no time.
Wow.
Because the story was that she, Emily, the director, supposedly had a leaflet about the case and thought there is a story here. But I don't believe anything that either of them say or said.
It's like, oh, I got a leaflet through the door and I thought, oh, this is a story. Let me investigate. No, shut up. You know, it's not true. They had an angle and they were going to go for that angle and they were going to fulfill their editorial brief. They had an editorial brief. Let's debunk this again, because this year the girl will be 18. Next year the boy will be 18. We've already had Tortoise Media. Let's do a job. Let's debunk this. So to come to you and say, oh, I saw a leaflet and I thought, oh, this is a story. So then, but it turns out she was in very close contact with the wailing mothers that victimized themselves rather than addressing the allegations of the child victims. So tell us what you can from the beginning to the end with this engagement with. So Tom contacted you at first, or Emily? Who contacted you first?
No. Tom did, and Emily I only saw once or twice at a conversation, and then when she showed up. So
you mean did they fly to Germany to interview you?
Yeah, as I say, they arrived a day before Maurice. They left already, or did they leave the same day when Maurice went to the hotel trying to still talk to them? But they arrived. They rescheduled their flight to come a day early so that they could get the filming done and leave before Maurice arrived.
Wow.
Even though the whole point was we wanted to take or cover the Mackenzie angle.
So
that was, but you see that was only revealed sort of after they had done a day of filming.
It takes a while. There's cognitive dissonance, especially where there's trauma. I'm so familiar with this. Like when my sister died in very suspicious circumstances, and then there was an autopsy, and then there was a mysterious toxin in her blood. It took me 3 months to realize the same toxin had been in my mother before I got her away to safety. And it was too late. Like 3 months later, the inquest was over. I couldn't get the body exhumed. You know, it was too late. But there's a delay when you're suffering from trauma. There's a delay in joining the dots, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm so grateful that thanks to our conversation, and a very, very, very special therapist has offered me to pick up the pieces
I'm
of
so
my
happy
soul.
about that. Yeah.
And so I've had these two sessions, and then she suggested to create a little group. And so I've begun to talk to two co-prisoner friends.
Wow.
And that in itself was also therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's very clear. And she gave me an interesting exercise she says it's important to the eye movements, but you have to cross the midline. So I mustn't move my head, only the eyes. So it's clearly about right brain balancing, and consciously remember as much of the trauma I can. And so I have added the story film experience to the memory of Bronzefield.
Okay.
And so,
there's another, just to say, that's absolutely the thing of making the two parts of the brain cooperate. There's another thing is about swimming. If you do crawl, swimming, that also helps heal and retrieve trauma memories for processing. And they also say, I had one sister, she never crawled. She went from sitting to walking. And they say that that's a very vital part of child development, is to crawl, because it's that same oppositional, it activates things, developmental parts of the brain. So it's very interesting. It's the same principle that she's talking to you about, because I'm convinced if we bury trauma, it just shows up in ill health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's very clear to me that we've been bottling up. I mean, I feel it physically in my throat as we are talking, especially the story film experience, because it was so completely treacherous.
Yeah. Tell me, let's put it on a timeline. When did Tom contact you? How long did you stay in contact for? When did he come to visit you? And so on. Put it on a timeline for me.
I don't remember when he contacted me, but I recently saw that he came beginning of February. So he came with Emily, but it was definitely
last year. That's February last year, right?
No.
This year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, the broadcasting is supposed to happen in late summer, August.
Yeah, I heard that. I'm trying to remember when they went to America to interview. But wow, they came to you February this year, March, April, May, June. That's very recent.
Yeah, but he would have contacted me in October, I would think.
Okay.
He also met Jake, to speak to Jake. He went to meet Jake.
Oh my God.
Upon my recommendation. Of course, I recommended a few other people.
Wow. Okay, so carry on. So October, around then he starts emailing you, and then you feel like, oh, I've got a friend. Was he Skype calling you? Was he?
I can't remember what. I think it may have been Skype. I can't remember which.
Zoom or Skype, but he was FaceTiming you. He was speaking to you face to face.
Yeah.
And he was getting you to talk and trust him and feel relaxed and so on.
Yes.
And then February, they're due to fly out, and you start to get some friends around you giving you red flags and saying, whoa.
No. It was just in the process. I mean, I said no oodles of time, and had my reservations here and my reservations there, and I needed to talk to my nephew, who is after all a public prosecutor. And I didn't want to talk about prison, and I talked about the community behavior order that is hanging over me, and all of my reservations about not doing it, and I can't. Yeah, and of course tortoise media as well, I would have mentioned. I mean, I was I was naive enough, Angie, to thank me. I thanked him for being your therapist.
I know you told me that, and that's so ironic, And
I
then
mean, no, it's not ironic. It's tragic, I think,
it
and
is
it's just
tragic.
cruel.
It's a tragic betrayal of human
Yes,
behavior. It makes one ashamed to call himself a journalist or a broadcaster or a researcher. It's
he claimed to be the producer even. And but when I woke up or realized what was going on, I then said to him, "I'm sorry, I trusted you." And when I withdrew my consent in an email to the owner of the company, I just wrote something like, "May your conscience treat you gently," and I sent him a link to the best testimony of heaven that I had
good
seen.
for you. Yeah, that's very powerful. That's very
Because
powerful.
I cannot, and also now fortunately I've reached a stage, but it was tremendously painful. It
Yeah.
was awfully painful for quite some time, and in all sorts of different contexts. But now today, when as I said, even last Sunday I was in tears about it when I thought about it, remembered it. Today I feel like I cannot be bothered. There is a whole German-speaking world out here, and if they think they're doing a wonderful thing by discrediting me, let them.
I know.
I have a bigger fish to fry with my mathematics,
Yeah.
and I can't. I'm an extraordinary big shot, whom I met 25 years ago at the International Mathematics Conference, which happened to have taken place in Berlin. He came back to me when I sent him my article. So God knows where things will lead.
It's hard because there's 8 billion people on the planet, and there's a very small percentage that are malicious and corrupt and wicked, and they have an agenda. And I have learned to block them out. Like I used to expose them, I used to fight with them, I used to, engage with them, and I just thought, why would I waste my energy on people like this when there are 8 billion, almost 8 billion people on the planet? It's still a planet of infinite possibilities. Why would I engage with that small, tiny percentage of what I do? I'm not one for reptilians, but I do believe there are psychopaths who have no conscience. They're compromised. They don't have a conscience. They really don't care. And maybe they'll never be redeemed. Even though you sent him a nice message and said, "May your conscience treat you gently," it may not. He may never ever feel like, "Oh, I don't like my job. I just took advantage of a 78-year-old traumatized, vulnerable genius who's dedicated decades to making a difference. I just took advantage of her." He might never realize that. And so it's really like how much attention. We'll just address this briefly, but so I just want to say, so he engaged you, and he started, Zoom calling or Skype calling, whatever it might have been, and acting like he was your therapist and your safe space to disclose. And then you even went on to recommend Jake and different people for him to talk to. And then Emily, what did Emily say to you? Emily, you only engaged with once or twice. What did she say to you?
She didn't say much at all until they arrived, and we met at my local restaurant. They stayed in my local hotel, and Tom said it was all about establishing trust. And
establishing trust, they came a day early without arrangement. They ambushed. No. They came a day early.
I somehow, I can't remember how it went. You see, it clearly blocked things. I can't remember how whether they kept it vague, I suppose, ever since I had dropped the name Maurice, I think. So leave themselves that.
So the minute
possibility.
the minute you alerted them that you had a male friend coming out to support you in being interviewed, they turned up 24 hours early.
I couldn't put it that way.
Okay.
But
okay.
But that was the effect.
That was what transpired. Okay.
That was the reality in the end. Yes.
Okay. So they came and stayed because they put him up in a hotel. No, they put him up in an Airbnb, and then they interviewed him there. And then afterwards he expressed. He said, "Oh, I might have been duped. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this, and we might need to pray." And then he started emailing afterwards and saying, "You tried to entrap me into saying what you wanted for your narrative, and I don't care what I said. I don't believe those two children could have made up what they said." But it didn't matter what he qualified after the interview by email. It was almost too late. It's like they already got the footage. They already got the gold. Do you know what I mean? They already got what they came for. So tell me about the interview. How long did they interview you?
No, I don't want to talk about it, Angie.
Oh, okay.
How long? It was the whole
wow,
day.
It's still too, that's interesting. It's still too raw for you to talk about it.
Well, it's too raw, and I do have a community behavior order hanging over me.
That sounds like, when you used that term to me, it sounded like something out of World War II, community behavior order, or it just sounded like something out of a Solzhenitsyn novel or something. What the hell is a community behavior order? It sounds like something either out of Chinese social credit totalitarianism or Stalin-esque North Korea, or it sounds like we're in the twilight zone. Community behavior order, please tell me what you mean.
Well, I met two people who've been victims of that, because that is the label which allows doctors to give you medication that you don't want.
Wow.
And I have seen one person becoming normal after she had been medicated for 2 years with monthly injections.
Yeah, there was a lady, Carol Woods, a social worker in the UK, that tried to blow the whistle on Tony Blair and Sherry Blair and financial corruption around casinos and so on. Even Jake Clark was forcibly medicated.
Yes.
And John Patterson. So many people.
Yes.
Can be forced medicated. It's a chemical cost.
Well, and I think that the mechanism is this community behavior order, CBO.
And can you tell us more about that, or is even that too sensitive to discuss?
Well, it just to be honest, I don't even have a copy. Possibly it's somewhere. It's bound to be among my prison papers, but I haven't unpacked my prison papers yet.
I understand.
And I asked my solicitor at the time for a copy, but I didn't get it. And he said, and he was an expert in extradition, he said it can't be enforced because since Brexit, because Germany doesn't extradite criminals to the UK.
Because the UK is no longer a part of the European Union. And I'm having, as you know, I'm having a similar issue where I got paperwork from the Solicitor General in Westminster. I'm going to upload them. Here they are. Here's my bundle. I shouldn't show it. It's got my address on, but look, everybody knows my address. But I'm gonna upload them tomorrow to my blog. But the Solicitor General in Westminster issues threats of contempt of court paperwork to me, saying you can go to jail for 2 years, we can come after your assets, blah blah blah, and we're contemplating taking these actions against you, and we strongly suggest you remove all your videos on the Wilfred Wong Anchor Hill case, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm no lawyer, but I just thought the Republic of Ireland spent 800 years fighting Britain as invaders. And so if suddenly Britain can have jurisdiction over the Republic of Ireland when Britain's not in Europe and the Republic of Ireland is, if they can suddenly issue orders to somebody in the Republic of Ireland, it's like I just said I missed the memo, you know. And because people like Edward Ellis are currently languishing in jail, one of the most brilliant legal minds of the last century, I'm convinced that I want to follow the way Jesus acted with the Pharisees, is just to listen closely to what his father advised him. Sometimes he didn't say a word, other times he disappeared, and other times he just said, you know, he said very little. I'm not willing to engage on their territory or contract with them in their corrupt courts. I'm really not, you know. The point I wanted to make was, and it's the same thing that you campaigned in Europe for, they say they're acting in the best interests of the child. That's the most abused term of the past century. And so they introduced this diabolical law, you know, we can remove children if we consider them to be at risk of future emotional harm. You know, what a loophole. And the same thing where they are saying they could put a D notice on a high level case which should have been heard in the criminal court but is hidden in the secret family courts, which happened with both Hampstead and Anglesey. They can put it in a secret family court and slap a D notice on it. Even at the criminal stage of it, the trial, they can slap a D notice on it, supposedly to protect the child's identity. But with the case that they're coming after me at the moment over, or threatening and intimidating me, the secret family court and subsequently the criminal court refused a social worker's testimony, having spoken with the child, 2 police interviews, ABE, Achieving Best Evidence interviews of the child. The first one, the judge, another Jones in the secret family courts, he said, oh no, I think you were leading the child, which they never, you know, did anything about with the other case that we both worked on. But in this Anglesey case, they said about the first police interview, oh, I think you were maybe leading the child. So the police did another impeccable interview of the child and presented it to the judge. And he said, oh no, because I refused your first one, that automatically eliminates any further interviews you might do. No, gone, won't listen to you. So the judge eliminated the social worker's testimony, the childminder's testimony, 2 police interviews, and an expert witness testimony. And then they try and tell me, by reporting that I'm compromising the best interests of the child, because their concept of protecting the best interests of the child is keep him anonymous. It's not to protect the child and keep the child anonymous. It's to protect the alleged abusers. And not just them, the judges and barristers and prosecutors and family court staff who are pulling all these fast tricks where they disallow the police interviews, disallow the social worker, disallow evidence all over the place, and then tell the mother. They actually allowed the press, sorry, I need to have this vent. They allowed the press to alarm the public by reporting that a crazy armed gang tried to kidnap a child at knife point. they expressly forbade, including in the reporting, that the crazy armed gang included the mother and aunt of the child. And it was, in fact, an attempted rescue operation. So they allow disinformation to be publicized so that the public at large thinks, oh my God, there's a crazy kidnapping gang running around with knives kidnapping children. No, this was a mother, an aunt, and some well-meaning retired people, possibly entrapped, but well-meaning, trying to help the mother rescue her child because the police, the secret family courts, the social services, and every avenue that she had gone down had failed her. So to me, it's not hard for me to say, and I'll say it in court if I'm allowed to speak or if I'm still alive, it's not hard for me to say what is genuinely in the best interest of the child, the truth or your attempts to keep the child anonymous. Oh, the poor child, we mustn't expose the child's identity. If the child or children in the Hampstead case, as whatever, if the children involved have been through a tenth of the allegations they made, the last thing on their mind is anonymity. Really, it's like that pales into comparison. What are you talking about? You want to keep my identity secret? You know, you think that's the way you best serve me? You won't listen to the people I spoke to. You won't look at the evidence. You lock my mother up for 15 years. Is that how you serve my best interest? These are the children with no voice, and we're supposed to stay silent so that they can stay anonymous. It enrages me, Sabine, and that's my rant over. Sorry.
I fully understand, Angie. I mean, that's exactly what I did. I remember I said that once to the office in my case. That's what I get for giving voiceless children a voice.
Yeah.
And the other blog, We Believe the Children. That's all that matters. That's why there is an EU directive, which was formulated in '92, I believe. It very clearly.
Be careful with your hand signals. Be careful with your hand signals. I don't know if you're aware of symbolism. You're 78, but there's certain signals that are 666. They're Illuminati hand signals. So anyway, carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But anyway, talk about this, carry on. We Believe the Children, the European directive.
There is an EU directive which categorically says that children should be believed before adults.
Yeah. And something like 98% of children are telling the truth. You know, occasionally a tiny percentage of children can be manipulated to make things up, but it's a very small percentage. It's the same way the number of survivors, victims of child rape, very rarely go on to become perpetrators, but some do. But the percentage is very small. But these percentages are being manipulated, and they're trying to flip the tables, you know. So I just want to say, just to tie up on the, it's interesting to me that you're still too raw to talk about the interview by Storyhouse. Tell me, that's the name of the production company?
Story Films TV.
Story Films TV. I need to get that right. It's interesting to me that that is still too upsetting for you. So I respect that. If ever you feel ready to discuss it, that's fine, and I'm not going to pressure you to do that. Where are they at with in terms of emailing you back? And
no, that's all gone, finished, over. I mean, they just said everything is in the hands of Channel 4 now. And when I emailed Channel 4, I didn't get an answer.
So it's out of their hands. That's such a job's worth kind of thing to say. So when you say I don't consent to my footage being included, I withdraw my consent, they're just saying, oh, sorry, it's in Channel 4's hands now. It's so clever. It's so clever. Wow.
And I asked the owner whether he pays Tom to betray me. And of course, he didn't respond to that, did he?
You mean the
But
only
I wanted to
story?
say something about the anonymity.
I just want
Because
to write down because it won't stick in my brain. I want to write down story.
storyfilms.tv.
I want to write that down because it keeps jumping out of my brain. Storyfilms.tv. And it was Tom. Do you remember his surname?
No, he never gave me the surname. The owner came back, Peter Beard, I think.
I'm going to write this down. Storyfilms.tv. And there was Tom, who interestingly never gave you his last name. That's very weird. I hope you learned a lesson about naivete.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's what I needed. But
I mean, it's painful, and you shouldn't have to, but in a high profile position, you need to. So Tom and Emily, and then who was the owner that you were told? Peter what?
Peter Beard. I'm pretty sure. I mean, certainly Pete. He came back as Pete, but he was the one who responded when I just wrote to contact, which it said on the website, rather than to Tom, who used an email address called research, and Jake was in touch with him afterwards, but then that somebody else responded under research. So it was all, as my friend said, a hit job, a cover up.
Yeah.
They covered themselves. It was a complete farce, a complete charade, and they got what they wanted.
They got what they wanted. They got it from you. They got it from. They probably got it from Jake. Jake was so brave, but to me, he's gone off at the deep end. He's gone completely into veganism and animal activism. He's just gone off on a complete different tangent to me, you know. So anyway, we'll just see what can be rescued and what will happen. But it was completely left field for me. I anticipated an attack. On the case that you were interviewed over. I didn't anticipate the attack on the Anchor Hill case. But look, we'll take it. I'm not gonna fold. I'm not going to sell my integrity for the possibility of I'll take everything down now. Will you leave me alone? You know, to die in obscurity and I'll never speak the truth again. No, it's not worth selling your soul. It's really not. And these people need to learn that. It's nothing.
No, this is. I mean, one of the things that really is empowering is the video between David Sorensen, who runs stopworldcontrol.com, and Rainer Füllmich. This extraordinary.
Yes, you sent me that, and it was and I sent it to a few other people. It was very encouraging, yeah.
Very encouraging, and especially about the jurisdiction and the abuse of the jurisdiction. And he also said they have to learn that they are not in control. They are not as powerful as they think they are.
And we need to learn to say no. It's like this community behavior order. It's like part of our brain, even though you've suffered so much, part of our brain needs to go, what? It's like, what?
No, Angie, it's worse. There are two big points that I would like to make.
Okay.
When I say it's worse, first, the anonymity, which is, it's like a myth that has been created. And so for everybody just assumes that that's the correct and right thing. Well, how come that in Germany, it has always been obligatory for everybody to get registered at wherever they live within 2 weeks?
Every citizen.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no.
Mind your fingers.
So in other words,
mind this stuff you do with your hands.
Come on, let me speak and use my hands the way I do.
Sorry, you're
Don't
Italian.
Be silly,
Italiano.
That's completely silly.
No, but you'd be amazed, Sabine. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at what gets clipped. But look, I'm self-censoring, so I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you. I mean, my hand language is unconscious. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. But so in Germany, they make you register within 2 weeks of where you live.
So the anonymity that is so sacrosanct, and the no ID that goes with it, after all, is because the elite, the upper class, needs and wants that anonymity
and immunity. Absolutely. Yeah. It's the same thing if it goes public, for instance, with the VIP Westminster paedophile ring investigation that got squashed, and they used Carl Beach and Andrew Ash to make a complete show of it, and Bill Maloney. They used people to make a farce of it. But the power, for instance, when it came out about Jimmy Savile, eventually 500 victims came forward with evidence and with corroborating information. Now, they only allowed that to emerge after his death. But if there was a gagging order where nothing could be said publicly, so the first 5, 10, 20, 100 victims of Jimmy Savile were not allowed to speak, the others would not even know that then it was an opportunity for them. Finally, I can speak. Finally, I can come forward and say something. It's the power of children's homes, like even the hospital, Aston Hall Hospital. Barbara O'Hare published a book, best-selling book, about psychiatric abuse of children in that hospital, and drugging and raping and so on and so forth. Even now, years later, while her book is still #1 bestseller on Amazon, she has flown to France to meet another survivor who's reached out to her, who's read her book and reached out to her and said, I was there too, that happened to me too. How are survivors supposed to network if everybody's silenced? And they're silencing people in the interests of, oh, you know, you can't accuse somebody, and oh, you know, in the best interest of the children, blah, blah, blah. Any excuse for silence. It's so toxic. But also, you said to me, you wanted me to show my blog statistics. I'm not sure why, but I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's another topic. Once I know exactly what to do, I'll let you know. But I just was reminded of a friend who said at the time, long before not long before I was arrested for the first time, but he said that publicity is my best defense.
Yes, I agree. And that was my advice years ago given to me. In the event of danger, talk, stay public, don't disappear, don't go under the radar. In the event of pressure from the outside, and this is why sometimes I reach out, or I get reached out to by American podcasters or podcasters around the world, you know, the Netherlands, wherever it might be, and we have to spread the load, Australia, wherever it might be. And I think, I can't remember who advised me that first, but somebody said, if you're in danger, speak out, speak out, speak out.
Ah, yeah. Well, the other thing that I wanted to make is that when you use quite wonderful language to describe what this community behavior order is like. There is something much worse, which is called IPP, which is an indefinite prison sentence.
Yeah, you told me about that. It's horrific. That is horrific.
And that is so horrific. I got so upset again when I spoke to my friend about it today, because I have a friend inside who is, and there's a campaigning group to whom it's happened, and there's a campaigning group called Ungrip, and the woman I'm in touch with there, she lost her brother to suicide. And that's the problem. Lots and lots of people kill themselves because there is no hope, because there is no end in sight. And it's been abolished for at least 9 years. but there are still some 3,000 prisoners under it. And the worst is that the Justice Committee has made a report and they recommend resentencing. That was in October last year. Well, the government rejects the report of the Justice Committee. What is the point of the government having a committee if it then rejects its recommendations?
Exactly, and this is what upsets me when they have commissions and inquiries and committees. It just it gives the public an illusion that something's being done, and then they spend millions, and then they make recommendations, and they have no power to enforce the recommendations. And you know, the recommendations can be ignored by the police, by the judiciary, by the government, and it's just because today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip paper. They count on the public having a very short attention span. So even though for 6 months people might think IPP, oh my goodness, indefinite prison, like the same as psychiatric, if they lock you up as criminally insane, they can keep you forever. There is no end in sight unless you sign a gagging order and you agree to be drugged up to the eyeballs indefinitely. You know, they have the right to just disappear you, but they count on the public being upset about that for a few months, and then they move on to Philip Schofield or whatever is the next drama. They move on, although I think the Philip Schofield thing is going to turn out to be much bigger than just a TV presenter. But yeah, it's like we have to keep speaking. And I think the biggest challenge, and I face this myself as well, is the more decisions we can make out of faith and the less we are activated by fear, the more ground we are going to take. That's the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The bigger picture is definitely, if you like, God sent and God led. In other words, we will never get it. We can only play our little part in having and living our godly way, and keep our mind at peace, because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
It's just we will never win. We will never outpower them. We can only outsmart them if we are lucky, and we can spread our own goodness. And
I don't even want to say we'll never win, because I think God won already.
That's true.
Yeah, and even when they say it's a fight between good and evil, no, good already won. The devil's already been made a spectacle of. It's just a case of walking out and manifesting the final humiliation of Satan and his minions and all the people that don't repent of their wicked ways. It's like, it's no good them thinking I'm going to live forever with transhumanism. You know, there'll be no death. I'll be forever uploaded to a clone or whatever. You know, blah, blah, blah. I've done all these rituals. I can escape death. No, you know, it's appointed to man once to die and then the judgment. And that's the truth. So I want to leave it there. We've done an hour again. And I look forward to the next session. And I don't take for granted, like I'm a bit superstitious. In 2 weeks' time, or even less than that, I'm going to be 66 on the 16th of the 6th in 2023. Now, for anybody into numerology, those are very dark dates. So I know from watching you and Nilu and different people that the Freemasons and the Satanists, they love to play around with birthdays. So every day that I'm free, I have to think to myself, okay, it's another day I can speak to Sabine, or I can speak to somebody in this country or that country, or I can occupy one more piece of the land. But I think the battle has already been won. It's just we have to believe that until it manifests.
Yes, until it trickles down to everyday life. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
But on the larger scheme of things, there's no doubt whatsoever in my head either. I've watched enough videos to know and believe that the Bible is the most amazing document on this planet,
Yeah.
and it has foreseen and prophesied just
Everything.
absolutely
Everything that's
everything,
happening.
and
Everything.
completely amazing. I mean, there may be Akashic records in India that may be comparable, but I mean, it's just extraordinary. So no, we don't need to worry.
No, yeah.
We just keep going and keep praying and
Is there anything people can do to support you? Anything people can do to, you know, I'm sure people are praying for you. I've had a lot of feedback. People are so delighted to see you and see you looking so well and see you processing the trauma, you know. So is there anything people can do for you?
That's very sweet that you asked that, Angie. But I just have to go through all of the things still. I still have to kind of settle properly into my flat, and I have to deal with my various health and pain issues. That's sort of my challenge all the time, my daily challenge. So if somebody wants to come and visit me and help and clean my cellar out,
I swear, I have I broke my knee a few weeks ago. My joints are all compromised from an antibiotic I was given a few years ago. And so I've been allocated some help daily. And one of the things, I have two care assistants. One of them, she helps me with exactly that. I'm like, okay, I want to unpack this part of what I've been avoiding and I need to deal with and so on. And she literally helps me do that. It's like such a practical thing to do. I'm like, I need to face this, but every time I look at it, it makes me feel sick. It's like, will you just sit there with me while I unpack this part of my trauma? And she does. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I have somebody whom I could ask, but I haven't done it yet, and I just need to do it myself as well. That's how I feel.
But do it yourself. You do it yourself. I it's okay to ask. Like sometimes all my assistant does, she will just sit there and I'll say, okay, I need to deal with this. I need to unpack this. I need to look at this. I need to sort it out, an action or file or bin or something. You can do it yourself, but sometimes the trauma introduces paralysis. So that's all I'm saying. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
No, I mean, and I can see to the presence is enough in a way, and to talk about it, to voice, to hear you talk, to hear yourself talk.
Yeah.
Is important. But anyway, no, thank you.
Okay.
It's very good to know that the feedback is positive.
Yeah, fantastic feedback. And think about it. Like if by next week you can think, you know what, there is a practical thing. Or even if it just prompts you to phone that friend you were thinking to say, you know what, I need to unpack this or I need to unpack that. And it gets me a little bit emotional. Do you mind coming over and having a coffee with me while I do it? You know, it can be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's okay, but it's very sweet that you asked. And I get through one day after another.
Yeah, one day at a time.
Beautiful dreams in between if I'm lucky. And so it goes. And it's I've got a nice flat. It's summertime, enough things to be happy about.
Food, warmth, and shelter. Okay, all right. Let's talk again in a week, please God. If I'm still, look, they've been threatening me since 2017 or 18. I can't remember, and so I'm not going to live in fear. So every day is a gift.
So obviously intimidation.
Oh, clearly.
But I mean, let me just mention, I wrote to the Solicitor General, since my solicitor didn't talk to me anymore. I wrote to the Solicitor General asking for confirmation about this Brexit thing, and I never got an answer.
Interesting. Yeah, litigation group 102 Petty France, Westminster, London, SW1. Westminster used to be my, you know, I lived in the Water Gardens in Westminster. That was where I lived in London for quite a while. So anyway, look, okay, au revoir until the next time we speak, and please God, let it be soon. And we'll keep digging into this. But I don't want you to, you know, I'm still blown away by community behavior order. It just blows my mind. It's like something out of the Holocaust. All right, my darling.
It is as Victorian as the IPP. And draconian and just, I mean, it's just completely.
And
yeah.
The third part of it is this thing where if they can't get you criminally, they can section you as crazy and then keep you indefinitely, like they kept.
Or else they ruin your reputation.
Oh yeah, well that's already happened to me and you. That's already, but it's like that's just on some level. It's like, okay, you did that. You destroyed my reputation. You know, they destroyed a lot more than that. To be honest, I should be much angrier than I am, but I kind of dissociate from it. It's so painful. I just can't focus on it. It's like, look what you did to my family. Look what you did to my reputation. Look what you did. Look at the lies you told. Look at the actions you took. If I dwelled on it too long, I would go crazy. I would go.
No. The thing is, you have to dwell on how you overcame it, how were all of the efforts you made.
But did I overcome it? The truth is, you can only say we're still breathing, we're still speaking. The truth is, did we overcome? I don't know. Only time will tell, you know. I think we did, because enough people say, enough people say to me, you saved my life, or you kept me going, or, you empowered me, you encouraged me, you inspired me. That's not to be an ego trip. That's just to say, I know that if I caved in, I feel like I wouldn't just be letting myself down, I'd be letting down so many people that have followed our journey for years, and then they say, oh, wow, look at Angie and Sabine. They both, I can't even speak for you, but if I caved in, oh, look at Angie, in the end, they got her, no, let's go out fighting, not on, rather go out standing tall and proud than on our knees, The only person I'll get on my knees for is the one who loves us. Jesus loves us. All right, Sabine. God bless.
Until next Sunday.
Yeah, God bless.
And you. Bye.